been 4-5 months. This last video. It's been quiet. We are first week of August, 2020. COVID-19 is still a big detractor to doing stuff outside. So we decided to do a home project recently, which is we replaced our door that went out to our carport. I should be posting a image of my 3 or 4 snapshots of that. So after I did all that, I had the original to the house door jambs. I kept them because there's 2x8. Not only is it 2x8, we're in 2020 now, right? So my house was built in 1962. So this 2x8 was cut somewhere in 1960, 1961. And what I want you to see, I hope the camera captures it, is the tight rings of the pine that they used. I'm looking at, for the crown, I'm looking at maybe 15-20 rings in a 2x8. Let me cut real quick and I'll see if I have a piece of 2x4 that'll emulate what a current wood sample would have, how many rings. And see, I might not even have to cut. So this one has tight green as well. Not as nice as that one. That one is oxidized, it's orange in color, as are the 2 pieces that were aged as well. I think I might be mistaken in the species. If you guys know that if they use cedar in the 60s to make door jambs, then that's probably it, because I'm looking at pine that's really yellow versus that. So this is relatively new. This is a piece of scrap 2x4 I've had for about, I want to say about 5 years in the house. I use it for prop up blocks for paint projects and when I'm making cuts and so forth. So that's the one I use for that. So what I'm going to do is, in each of these 2x4s, 2x8s, there are holes for anchors, concrete anchors. My intention is to cut as close to the hole on either side and measuring it. Right, I'm going to take off the door stop on the opposite side. This is a 1x3 or a 1/2 inch by 2.5 inches. Remove all the hardware, remove all the nails, and make it as easy to process as possible. Cut it down to length, and hopefully I'll have a 4 32-inch long pieces, so that I can make them into a domino table. So that's it for right now. I'm going to start processing. I'm going to save you me talking, and I'm going to do I think it's called time lapse. rephrase that. I've processed the wood, removed all the visible nails. I'm not really worried about the routed cavities for the door hinges or the routed cavity for the strikes and the bolt plate for the deadbolt and for the doorknob. They're really bad shape, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to rip that off about 1.5 inches of wood off of that one 2x8. I'm glad I decided to take out the bolts altogether, not even cut up to the hole, but just remove them, because I had a better idea. Since I have to rip that one down 1.5 inches, I'll cut them as close to the 32 inches as possible, and then I have a plug cutter set from Harbor Freight, and what I'll do is I'll take a 1/2 inch drill bit and just bore them out to 1/2 inch, and then use the cutoffs as the base for the plugs I'm going to have to make. So I'm going to have to make at least 6 plugs. So for right now, I'm going to save you the visage of me just cutting the wood, because that's basically what I'm going to be doing right now, is cutting these down to 32 inches, making sure I have a straight cut on one edge, and then cut 32 inches in. On both of these, I should get, if there are 84 inches, I should get roughly 4 boards at 7 1/4 will give me what, 28 1/4 inches of width, minus 1.5 inches. So I'm looking at what, 26 3/4 width. So it'll be short that, and then that's what this final piece is. So I'm gonna measure this one. This one should be 32 inches wide on its own, or a little bit a hair over, because the door that everything was jamming, if you will, was 32 inches. So this one is 32 and I want to say 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to slice a kerf blade, or half a kerf blade, off each end, just to clean off the ends, and then whatever that comes out to be at 32 on the dime, that's what I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to have the 5 7 1/4 inch pieces, which I think what 2x8 is 7 1/4. Let me make sure. Yeah, 5 at 7 1/4 is 36 1/4. Minus 1.5 inches puts me at 35 3/4. No, 34 3/4. No, 35 3/4. So I should have ample wood to work with to be able to make the domino table. So let's get cracking. Oh, and it's hotter than the heck out here. It's early October in Florida, and I've been out here maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, and it's deadly out here. So this is a dual beam level. I got it on a garage sale. I got this, two hand saws, old school hand saws, long blade hand saws. One with fine tooth, one with medium tooth, a couple of coping saws, and a hacksaw, which with a lot of little rasps and whatnot, $10. So this was a steal, because a brand new one. New dog. A brand new one of these, like this, it's easily $50-$60, and it's composite or aluminum, and that's wood and steel. and it's got age and patina, which is great because that's what I want to have is old tools that I'm working with, like my DeWalt table saw. I mean, not table saw. I digress. Never mind. Let me get this going before I sweat myself to death. I'll be back in a second for you guys. I saved you a lot of cutting. Like I said, I was going to cut them about a curved blade off the first one, and I did. And I already have the first 4 pieces of 32 inches of 2x8 from 1960s. This is a lot easier to show you the grain in because it's got a fresh cut, but that's nice and tight. And this will be going up on my new wood rack that I made that's currently holding a sleeping cot. So I've measured this to 32 inches with a measuring tape, and then I take my speed square and I am setting the speed square back enough for the tip of the graphite on the pencil. This is basic measurement. I measured it twice before I cut once, and then what I'm doing is I'm sneaking the pencil mark to the outer edge of the tooth on the saw blade, so the saw blade is cutting to the outside, which is the left side of the line. So I'm cutting it as close to the line as possible. I'm laying the blade on the line, confirming that the outer edge of the tooth is right on the line. I'm trying to be as precise as I can be. This is a one-time deal. To make this correctly the first time, there's no do-over. I don't have 2x8s laying around from 1960. From the early 60s. I will be planing these suckers down to about 1 inch to knock off the paint and the sediment that's on it, and then to release the wood that's laying underneath. I'm going to use the unpainted side. That's the side that I slide through what do we call it? The tabletop planer that I have. And then I'm going to use my Craftsman secondhand. I've already talked to you guys about that, my secondhand table saw. And I'm going to rip these down to 7 inches wide, with the exception of the one that's going to be 5.5 inches wide, which will probably end up being the one in the middle. So that way I can start cutting my plugs with using a 1/2 inch plug cutter on one of these extra pieces of wood. And then for the trim, because a regulation sized domino table is 34 inches by 34 inches, I was thinking about using the strike jams, where these are about 1/2 inch. So this will get me to a 33 by 33 inch girth for dimensions on the table. And then I need to, once I rip them down to the final thickness of the boards that I'm going to use, I'm going to make like a little rim. It'll be the center square, the 24 by 24 inch center square that goes on the inside of the table. I have I have some poplar left over from when I did my wife's pizza slice. Yeah, the pizza slice. Not slice. The pizza peel. It's a peel. And I'm going to use that as accents for the corners to put cup holders in it. And then once everything is done, I'm going to put a bevel on the cup holders, quarter round on the inside, so that cups and drinks slide in and out of quite easily. And then on the outside, I'll use maybe a 45 inch chamfer chamfer, so that it will look decent. The legs, I have new 2x8s that I'm going to cut down to, I think standard height of a table is 30 inches in height. This will be playing down to maybe an inch, an actual inch, not an inch and a quarter. And then whatchamacallit, I'll use the 2x8s to make a pedestal with it, and I'll figure that out. And you guys should come along for that. Well, thank you for watching so far. I'm going to continue sweating up a storm. The shirt is, I've been here like an hour now. So, yeah, thanks for watching so far. I'll be right back. Well, it's been about 30 or so minutes since last time we spoke. I made a lot of wood shavings. Slower though for my backyard. So what I'm going to do now is I planed the boards down about an inch and a quarter, maybe an inch and 3/8, give or take. Now I'm going to take a paint scraper utility knife. I'm going to take off this edge of silicone that has on it on either side, knock down the burrs, clean it up, because what I'm going to do now is bring out my table saw, rip these down to, what did I say it was, 36 and a quarter, will give me, that's 5's 31 and a quarter. If I do 36 and a half, sorry, 6 and a half, will give me 5 times half an inch is 2.5 inches, so 32.5 inches wide, minus the inch and a half that I gotta rip from the other side. I'm looking at 31 inches. So if I go 6 3/4, I should have enough meat left to be able to do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off a 1/4 of an inch off of one side, and then I'll figure it out. You guys will see that, as I always do. Thanks for watching so far. I'll be back in a little bit. Well, it's 2:30. It looks like it's starting to get a little overcast. Not so bad. It's our rainy season. So I've planed the thickness of the boards. They're 32 inches wide. They are 6 7/8. That's right. They're about an inch and a quarter thick by 6 7/8 wide. So that gives me 34 and a half to play with. So I can rip the center board down to 6 7/8 minus 2 inches is 4 7/8, minus a half an inch is what? 4 8 3/8. 4 and give or take. I won't be exact on this because I've been pretty good so far. The lines are mating up evenly. There are no gaps that the glue and the epoxy won't fill. It's beautiful, for lack of a better word. So the center board has the most. I think it's actually, no, it's 2 strike plates, so the strike plate is at the most an inch and a half in. So you know what, I won't say Al if you won't, just obviously the straight plates where there are. I'm not gonna weaken one side just to make it even or whatnot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these down to, so I'm at 34 and a half, right? 34 and a half on the dime. Just want to make sure I'm at 34 and a half. 34 and a half divided by 5 is 6.5 inches. Half inch times 5 is 2.5. So that's the next thing. So 6.5 inches. That's straight I rip them down to now. Thanks for watching so far. And the next time we meet will be after the 6.5 inch cuts. Hopefully I don't mess up. Well, it's closer to 3 now. 4. And I've already ripped them down to 6.5 inches. So on this side we are at and on this side we are at and on this side we are at 32 1/4. So I'm gonna get the middle board, which is this one here, and I'm going to rip 1/4 inch off one of the sides and come back. Got it with protection. This wood's 60 years old. 60 years old, yeah. Don't know what's in the wood, so I'll be right back. Well, it's the smidge over 32, like a 16th. I'm not too worried about it because once I glue it, well, first I've had to put the dominoes in. Once I put the dominoes in, or the biscuits in, and I glue it and squeeze it, it's gonna suck that 16th or 32nd of an inch in. I've made it the edges as close as I can with fingers. 45 1/4 on this side, and 45 1/4 on this side, so it's square. I ain't gonna mess with it. I'm gonna pull the boards out. Actually, I'm gonna get a pencil mark from me for the line, and then go this way, and just, you know what, I just make a V on it because I gotta sand it anyway. Make it smooth. I have to fill it in and fare it up and everything else. So now I'm gonna make a V on it, very lightly over it. And now whenever I put it back together, I'll see, where is that notch? One of these has the notches for the strike. I gotta make sure it's the piece is somewhat marked out where I can just start knocking them in. Woo! It's a hot one today, I tell you. Well, that's it for right now. I've got the boards trimmed to length, planed to thickness, ripped to their last sizes. Let me show you real quick. I've used my biscuit joiner to add slots for the biscuits, and then I went looking for my biscuits and completely forgot that I had run out of biscuits, and I should have ordered replacement biscuits 4 months ago. But whatever. So I ordered more from Amazon, and they'll arrive tomorrow. And I'll finish making the panels up in 3 pieces, 3 pieces by themselves and 2, because I don't have enough clamps to clamp 32 inches. I only have clamps that go up to 24. 4 that go to 24 inches, and 2 that go to 36. Because I've never had to do anything this big before, or wide before. Ooh, going crazy. This is a whetstone for my chisel, and I went out to a garage sale like 4 months ago, and I bought 2 saws like this, old school carpenter saws. And I say old school because these are really old. They use Phillips head screws on them. Newer, cheaper ones use rivets. This has a brand. It says Superior. Warranted Superior. Oh, yeah, warranted Superior, apparently. This is a fine tooth one. I got this one along with one that has this is that was the fine. Then I have a medium tooth one and a coping saw and a coping saw frame and a hacksaw blade plus a couple of rasps that double up the double bubble level that you guys saw earlier. And I must have gotten like a little box of tools, $10. The saws alone are $20-25 new. The coping saw, this old school, not plastic in any way, shape, or form, but all metal coping saw. Doesn't even have a brand on it. If I was to get just a coping saw like this, or a jeweler's saw, or for like brass or whatnot, I'd probably spend at least $20 on this one on Amazon. So the fact that I was able to pick everything up fairly cheaply because it was an estate sale says the point. So for right now, the download table is on hold until the biscuits get here. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully tomorrow, once the biscuits get here, I'll be able to continue making the panels. I'll bring you guys along for that. Thank you for watching up to this far. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you for watching Leo Builds It. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Tomorrow we'll continue the download table panel.